Hello everyone, welcome back again. My name is Jesse, and in this wonderful tutorial, we're building another NLP based application called Summarizer, right? So Summarizer is an app we are building which is going to be used to summarize our document and our test using SpaCy, Gensim, and then several others. Now let's see what I mean. So if I come to this place, I can just paste in my test, which is a very interesting article about AI. And then when I click on the Summarizer or Summarize, it's going to summarize it perfectly for us. So let's just finish summarizing. Now if I come down to this place, see that this is the original test I had, and then this is the summary of it, right? So I've been able to summarize it in a very nice way, giving us the right content. And this is the amount of reading time, that is 36 seconds, reducing it from 52 seconds to 36 seconds. Okay, perfect. So that's not the only thing. So in case I have a URL, so let's say I have a URL about machine learning from here, right? This particular stuff, and this article is quite long, it's quite plenty, it's very, very long. So I want to summarize them and read them. So I can just go to this place, the URL place, paste the URL there, and then summarize it. This one is dependent upon how long and how plenty the document on the website is. Perfect. So that's finished analyzing. So this is the entire test. It's about 31 minutes to read this. It's very, very long. It's a very lengthy test, right? So this is what the test about. And I want to actually see the summary. So just summarize, picked it, went to the website, this particular URL, picked it, right, and then summarize it perfectly for us, reducing it to 98 seconds, which is about 1 minute and some seconds. So this is a very summarized version of it. Okay, apart from that, you can also come to the compare summarizers, then you can use the same stuff on different summarizers. Can use the same thing on different summarizers. We have SpaCy Summarizer, we have Gensim, we have NLTK, and we have Sumy or Sumy. Let's run. Okay, so now let's see what I mean. So I'm going to paste in my test here. So the same test we had for the previous one. Click on summarize. Going to summarize it in a very nice format for us using all the 4 different summarizers. So it's going to be using SpaCy, Gensim, NLTK, and then Sumy. So we have it here. So this is the test that we pasted there, and then this is SpaCy Summarizer, which is this summary, and then the reading time 36. Gensim gave us only 1 line because I set it as 1 line. Then we have NLTK, which is almost similar to that of SpaCy because of the same procedure we used to create it. And then Sumy or Sumy is also summarizing in a different way. So that's what we're trying to build. So if we come to the about me here, you can just click on this. These are some basic stuff and redirect us to the social media stuff. So that's the basic idea of the app we're building. So it's called Summarizer. So now let's see how to build this particular app. So I've already set up some stuff to make it easy for us to finish on time. So we have our inside our folder, this is our main folder. We have inside our template, we have 2 files. We have the compare summary and then the index file, right? And then here we have some packages, we have some files. We have the NLTK Summarizer and then SpaCy Summarizer. And inside our static, we have some interesting stuff about the CSS, which consists of the materialize main, and then custom stuff for our custom summary design. And then we can come to our JS. We have some materialize.js files, and then the init, which has some customized stuff for all the animations we'll be using in this particular tutorial. So that's the basic idea about it. Now let's see the structure. So this is what I mean from all that I've been speaking about. So we have this file. So inside the NLTK underscore summarization, we have how to summarize with NLTK, right? We have created a function, and then there's a function we'll be using to do it. So this is a very interesting function. So quite easy to understand. And now we have another for some SpaCy Summarizer or summarization. We have a simple function called Text Summarizer. If you watch the previous tutorial, you realize how to do. So there's a previous tutorial on how to do text summarization with SpaCy. So that is exactly the same function I'm using here. Okay, perfect. So these are the 2 main files we'll be using for our NLTK and SpaCy. Now let's check our compare summarizer. So inside our index file, to make it easier, I've designed the entire stuff, right? So this is just something basic about it. So this is just the CSS stuff, and then we have our nav bar for our navigation. Then we have our side nav bar, and then the design for this particular stuff Okay. And then also if you go back to our form, we had our form here. We have 2 forms. So we have a form for our test here, and then we have another form for our other stuff, right? Okay, so the form is just some basic form that we have created, which is found inside this particular place. Right, so these are the basic stuff about it, so that we don't spend more time on the design. We want to implement the back end because these ones are the same. Okay, that's the basic stuff. And then it's also for the compare summarizer. I've also have the back end, the front end already designed, so that you'll be able to move on smoothly and better. And let's see how to start with it. I'm going to close this, and then we're going to start from scratch from the back end. So let's start. So the basic stuff we require is that we need to install Flask. So in pip install Flask, that is if you don't have Flask, then we need to install some other packages for the summarization. SpaCy, we need NLTK, we need Sumy, and then we also need another one which is called Gensim, right? So Gensim is the full package, but we have an extension of Gensim called Gensim Sum extension to allow us to do the summarization only. Then you also need to install BS4 for our web script. You need to go to the website, fetch data from it, and then you also need your these are the basic stuff you need. So in case you also want to use the materialize from Flask, you can just go with Flask underscore material. Right. So these are the basic stuff you need for this particular app to work. So now let's start with it. So first of all, we just start with our first app.py as the backend. So I'm going to save it, and then this is going to be our backend. So I'm going to call it as app.py, but I'm going to save it in the base of the file, right? In the base of the folder, rather. So app.py here. Then this is where we're going to do all our analysis, all the backend stuff. Okay. Perfect. So now let's see how to do that. It's going to be from Flask import. We need a Flask capital, and then we need URL 4. The next thing we need to do is that we need to get the render template, and then the final one is going to be our request. So these are the basic stuff that we need. The next thing that we need is we need to get the NLP packages. Then we also need to have some web scraping packages, right? Web scraping or scraping, I don't know how to spell packages. Okay, these are the basic stuff you will need to get later on. Now you just have to initialize the app with, let's close our, let's create our app. Let's go to Flask to initialize the Flask app. Then we're going to change this one to name. So these are some basic stuff you can do. Now let's start with our if main. This if main app dot run. Let's go to debug. It's equal to true to be able to get it. So after finishing, you just have to take it. So these are the basic stuff you need to do. So now let's start with it. So first of all, we need to create some 3 different routes, right? So we need 3 different routes. We need a home route with 2 different stuff. So with 2 different functions, and then we also need another route for our compare, which is also having 2, right? So these are the basic stuff we need to do. So now let's start with it. So app.route, then this is going to be our home or index main route. Then create a function called index, then return render template, right? So index.html. So this index.html is coming from our file we had here inside our template. Inside our template, we have this index.html. So inside this index.html file, we have the home, which is going to be the root. We have the compare summary. So we need to also create a route for this compare summary. So let me divide it into 2 so that you see what you are trying to do, right? So that we don't waste a lot of time on the design aspect of the front end. Okay. So we have this index file here, and we also need to create another one for compare summary, and then also need to create one for our form itself, right? So now let's see how to do that. So just go to this side. It's going to be for our compare summary, and then another one for our analysis, and another one for our compare summary. So we have this for our index, and let's create one for our compare summary. So let me change this one to our compare summary. So compare summary, right? Perfect. And this one will lead us to our compare summary. Perfect. So that is the basic stuff we have. So from the form, if you go back to our file, we have a form here, right? So inside the form, we have our basic form. So this is the basic form that we have. don't know whether you can see it very well. So this is the basic form. So inside this form, the most important thing for the form is the test area. So this is the test area where we're going to be placing all the tests we need to do, right? So whatever test you're going to be placed there is going to be bound to this particular stuff called raw test. So that's the name it's going to be taken for everything. Then everything that will be typing here will be bound to this, and then will be sent via post, right, to this particular route called action. This particular action route called analyze. So that's what we do. And then we need this requires so that we cannot send it by default. So it's not going to accept empty stuff. So it only accept something that anytime you put in a test. That's the basic stuff for this analyze. And the same thing for the analyze for the URL2. It's the same form we have here. We have a basic form with our clear button and our summarize button. And then here we have a method of post and action of analyze underscore URL, right? And everything that we're going to be typed inside this input form is going to be attached to this name called URL, raw URL. So that's the basic stuff. So we have to create two different routes, one for the analyze URL and then another one for the analyze, right? So that is the basic stuff we have to do now. So let's go off with this. Then let's call this one as analyze. And then we are going to change this one to as analyze. Okay. So this one, the analyze was taking a method. It had a method. So method is going to be, we need a get method. You can only use a post if you want, and then a post method. Perfect. So that is for the analyze. Now we also had another one for the analyze URL. So let me copy the same stuff we had here for the analyze URL to get our URLs. And then I'm going to change this one to URL. So analyze URL, analyze URL. Perfect. So that you have the two main routes, right? Okay, so that is the basic stuff about it. That is the basic stuff about it, right? So the next thing we need to do is that we need to be able to receive something, all these things that you are getting, we need to receive this particular raw test into our backend. So how do we do that? So it's going to be quite simple. In this particular option, we're again going to use a normal one. So if request.method is equal to post, right? If that's the case, then I want you to put it as raw test. Raw test is going to give us our request dot form, get from the form that particular raw test, and then store it inside a variable called raw test. So everything that you're going to be doing from henceforth is going to be with the summarization. So we are going to receive everything and store inside this particular stuff called raw test. That is the basic idea about it. So everything I'm going to receive is going to be from this, it's going to be stored inside this raw test. Right? Okay, so from here we're going to have some two aspects. Now we're going to do our summarization, and then if you want to do, we're also going to do our reading time, right? Reading time to read this particular article. So these are the basic stuff you have to do. So to be able to work with this summarization and a reading time, we're going to create a function at the top of it. So let's call it as our functions that we need to create. So the first function that we need to create is that we need to be able to create one for our summarization, right? So we need to import all the NLP packages that we had. So we'll be importing from here, from the way to our file, this particular NLTK Summarization, SpaCy Summarization. So we importing this text summarizer from SpaCy Summarization. So it's going to be from SpaCy underscore summarization import our file, right? Our text summarizer, which is this particular function, right? Perfect. The same way for the NLTK2, we also have another summarizer called NLTK Summarizer. So you're going to copy this particular stuff, import this particular function into our main app. It's going to be from NLTK underscore summarization import this particular stuff, text summarizer. So that's the two main summarizers that we have importing now. Okay. And the next thing we need to do is that we need to be able to use this particular text summarization on whatever text that is coming. So how do we do that? So let's call it as our final summary, right, for the SpaCy for the first one. Then we're going to call it as our text summarizer. Then we're passing in our raw test. We are not cleaning it, we're just doing it straight away. So text summarizer underscore summarizer, then we're passing around this particular raw test, right? So the result is going to be stored inside our final summary, and then when the result is stored inside the final summary, we're going to send that result to our index.html file. So it's going to be our final summary is going to be final summary, which will be sent to our backend, to our front end. Then we need to pass this particular final summary to our reading time. So we have to create a function to be able to read our time. So how do we do that? So to be able to get our reading time, the main requirement for creating a reading time function is that we need to be able to get all the words and then find the average time at which every human being or a normal adult reads, right? So it's going to be our function called reading time. Then I'm going to pass in my test. So let's go to my test. So we need to be able to find the total word or total count of words, the total words or count. Then we need to find or tokenize all the words from that particular test that is being supplied. We need to find the average, right? Okay, so now let's see how to do that. So I'm just going to import some other packages from above. So let's go to other packages to be import SpaCy, right? I'm going to create an NLP object. It's going to be SpaCy.load en. So we're using SpaCy's own to do that. You can also use NLTK to do that, but let's use SpaCy. Perfect. So now I'm just going to create a list comprehension of all the words, right? So it's going to be token.test for token in our my test, right? And I'm going to pass my NLP around it. So NLP object around it to create an NLP object and then tokenize it for us. So I'm going to find the length of all that tokens there. So length of the particular token. So now I've gotten the total words count, right? Now we need to be able to get the estimated time for it. So estimated reading time or estimated time. Let's go to estimated time. It's going to be the total words that we had divided by the average time people use to get word per minute count, right? It's going to be, let's say, 200. It can be 265, but the basic is 200 words per minute, right? So dot zero to run it to fashion, right? To float. Okay, perfect. Then we're going to return estimated time. So now we are done with our reading time. So I'm now going to pass this reading time around this our final summary is going to be our, let's call that reading time. So final reading time can be any name. Then I'm going to pass in my reading time function around my final summary. So that's how we're going to be doing it for this particular stuff. So now I'm going to store that particular stuff to our final reading time, right? Or let's call it as summary. This is going to be for a summary. You can also apply the same final reading time to even the test, even before we summarize it. So let's go to as final reading time for the test itself. Then I'm going to supply the reading time function that we have created around our raw test. So these are the basic stuff you can do. Sorry for this. So now we have been able to get our summary, we have been able to get our reading time. We are going to supply this our final summary and our summary reading time to our front end, to our index, right, as our result. That is the first step for it. Now let's see how to work on calculating this particular stuff. For running the process, we can just do it in this simple format of going with, let's say, the normal. So we're going to import time to help us with that. So let's go to import time. Then I'm going to, after importing time, this is calculating the estimated time for doing analysis, right? The time elapsed. So it's going to be if start, right? At the start time, time dot time the time. Then after the end of all the process, I'm just going to call it end time, right? End time, like end time. Let's make it as end so that it doesn't sound like the end of the world. End time. Then I'm going to subtract the first from the final. So final time is going to be our start, or let's give it as our end, minus our start. So this is going to give us the final time. So I'm going to send this final time back here again. So final time is equal to final time. But don't forget to bring the final reading time to our final reading time, and then our summary to the back, to the front end, right, to our index file. So that's how to work with it. Now let's see how again to work on our URL. In case you have a URL, how do you get the data from a particular website? How do you get the data from Wikipedia here, right? How do you get the data from Wikipedia and then use it inside our app? So let's create that particular function. So to be able to do that, we're just going to create a function to get our data. So let's call it as fetch function is going to be def. So get test. Then we're going to pass in our URL that we have. Then when you pass in that particular URL, it's just going to do some processing to it. So to be able to process it, we need some other packages, some interesting web scraping packages. So the first package we need to import beautiful soup, right? So that's the package that you'll be using for this particular stuff, right? Beautiful soup for import beautiful soup. So beautiful. So you can also use mechanical soup if you want, right? Then the next thing you can also do that you have to get from URL lib to allow us to open our file. URL lib import URL open. Right, so in case you are working on Python 2.7, you can also use this particular format from URL lib dot request import URL open, right? So any of them will work. Okay, perfect. Now we are done with this particular stuff. So these are the two main packages to help us to be able to fetch data from the particular website and be able to scrap the important things and then analyze it. So let's add that one. So I'm going to go to this page. Then I'm going to use the URL open to open a particular URL. So URL, and after opening that particular URL, I'm just going to create a soup, or can you call it any name, beautiful soup. Then I'm going to pass in my particular page. Then you can also use another argument of the LSML, which is a very nice package to help us with our formatting, right? Light SML. Then I'm just going to put fetch. So in most websites, all the tests are usually found in the p tag, right? So that's what we're going to use. We're going to fetch all the p tag, put them together, and then restructure them, right? Fetch all the p tags from the particular file. So find all the p tags, fetch them, and put them together. So let's go to fetch test. It's going to be all the p tags. So we're just going to go with our p, right, tag. So p dot test. That's the file that you'll be getting. So our p tag dot soup dot find underscore of. You're going to find all the p tag in a particular time. Then we need to use a lambda function to allow us or a list comprehension to put them all together. So I can make it as lambda p, right? Then I'm going to put them all together as one particular function using a map and then a join. So let's call it as map. Then we're going to join it. So join function dot. So that's the basic stuff. So we are taking all the p's from the file, we are finding all the p's, putting them together, and joining them again. That is the basic idea about creating our particular stuff. Okay. Now we're going to return our particular fetch test. To return our fetch test. So that's the basic idea of getting the URL, right? So now we're able to fetch data from that particular URL. So we're going to pass this particular get URL around our test. So it's the same procedure. So all these places here, all this thing here, it's the same thing. But to be able to work with the URL, the only thing we need is to be able to fetch the data, fetch the information, fetch the data from the p tags of that URL, and then apply all that you have applied for this place on it. Right. So I'm just going to copy the same thing that we had here, which is almost the same stuff here. Right. So that's the same thing we're going to do. But the difference is that from here, the difference is that we are going to be passing the URL. So instead of this being raw test, you can just make it like raw URL, right? Which is the raw URL from here. We had our raw URL from our index file someplace, just here. So we have our raw URL here, right? Yeah. So this raw URL is what we are trying to fetch the data from. So raw URL request dot form, then raw underscore URL. Perfect. So that's the basic stuff. So we don't need this anymore. So when we fetch that raw URL, then I want to apply some other stuff to it. So raw URL is equal to the raw test. Then I'm going to pass in my get my test. I'm going to pass in the raw URL. So the basic idea that whatever text I'm pasting inside my form, it will be stored inside this raw URL. I'm going to pass this raw URL to my function get test, right? Which is going to go to this particular URL supplied, fetch data, and then store them for us as raw test. Then we can apply our reading time function to it and apply our test summarization function to it. So that's the basic idea about working with the URL and the com. So let's save this and see whether it's going to work. So I'll refreshen it up, then we'll save it so that it's going to work perfectly. Okay, so one of the things we also forget that this is for Python 2.7, right? This is for Python 3.3 and Apple. So let's use this particular stuff and let's run our particular function and see whether it's going to work. Let's check it and see. So Python app.py, if there's no error or mistake. So I'm going to use this particular URL that we had here, copy it, and then I'm going to paste it here. Perfect. Now it's working. So after all the long procedure, now we have been able to do some interesting stuff. So we have our form. This is just a design from the CSS, which is not the most important. And now we have our form here. We have our URL here, right? Okay, so let me paste in something. Let's paste in a test there and see whether it's going to work without giving us any error. So I have another stuff. So yep, let me copy this stuff here and paste it here. Let's summarize it. Perfect. Now it's working perfectly, right? This is able to analyze it and give us the reading time, the one that we calculated with this reading time here. And then it has been able to give us the elapsed time, which was the one we calculated with this start time here, and then this final time, right? And then this is the summary, the original test that we supplied, and then this is the summarized test, which is quite interesting. So it seems that it's almost the same time for reading, but there are differences, right? So this is, but as with any code rush, the question is who will find code, right? And this is totally different. Quite interesting. Yeah. So that is how to do that for the using SpaCy to do the summarization. Now let's apply the same ideology that we have, right, for creating this summarizer on the compare summarizers, right? So that is the same thing that we're going to do, but we're using not only SpaCy, but we're using SpaCy NLTK and Gensim. So that's Sumy. So now let's work on that one. So to work on that, we already have a function. We have already imported this SpaCy summarization test summarizer. We have seen how it works. Now we need to work on NLTK and then the other one. So let's import the other particular summarizers. So the other summarizers we'll be using is Gensim. So it's going to be in this particular format. So from Gensim, right? From Gensim dot summarization, summarize. Okay, perfect. That's from Gensim. Then that is a basic one for Gensim. Now we also need to create another one for the Sumy stuff. So let me paste it here. I'm going to paste the package and the function. So let me explain the function. So these are all the packages that we need. So Sumy comes with a very interesting packages and then summarization algorithms to allow us to work with it. And to using the less rank, right? The less rank is ranking them based on the importance of the words and then how similar they are and how they are recommended one to the other. Okay, that's the basic idea about it. So this is a simple function. Then I'm passing whatever document I'm passing to our parser, right? Plain text parser, converting them, tokenizing them, because that's the most important thing, just like in the previous one. Then we're going to apply our particular summary algorithm on it, and then create a list comprehension of all the words, and then join them together, give us the result. That's the basic idea for the Sumy summarizer. Okay. So now we have three summarizers. We have the Sumy, we have the Gensim, we have NLTK and SpaCy. Now let's see how to use these particular summarizers on our compare summarizer, right? Compare summary. That is for our compare summary, this particular stuff. Compare. So we need to create another route for that. So let me copy this one and then create another route for our compare. Right, so this is not going to be called compare summary, but it's going to be called compare to do all the analysis. Compare, perfect. Then we are going to use the same method that we have. So the method is going to be method. It's going to be for our it's going to take two methods, right? It's going to take the get and then post. So let me copy this one and paste it here to save time, right? So we have a get and a post method. Now the next thing we need to do is that we need to be able to use the same stuff we had here, but in this case we will be passing an individual function to it. So it's going to be our, as we did earlier on, our summary and then our reading time, right? For each and every of them. So we're going to have our summary and reading time for SpaCy, and then another one for summary for NLTK. Then we have summary. These are the basic ideas we'll be going to do, right? So the basic ideas we'll be doing is that we need to use this particular functions we have created. So all these particular functions of Text Summarizer, NLTK Summarizer, Summarize, and then all these particular Sumy summary to be able to apply those things just like we did here, just like we did in this particular place, final summary. That is the same basic concept we are applying on all of these individual summaries, right? So it's going to be like as we did previously. So, but first of all, we need to be able to receive it. So we just go with if request. Then I want you to fetch whatever thing that is going to be our raw test. So from here, now we have saved everything inside the raw test, right? So now I'm going to pass in all the functions around it, just like we did previously here, right? We are passing all these functions around it. So I'll copy it and paste so that it will be easier in the display, because the same thing is going to be only repetition. Okay, perfect. So that's the basic stuff that we have done. So now the same thing that we had, right? I'm passing the reading time around it, the test summary for SpaCy, and then applying the reading time over the final reading time, and then we are naming it well. Then Gensim to the same thing, summarize, reading time, then the same thing. Then NLTK, we are also applying the same stuff here and then here, right? And then for Sumy, we are using the function we created above and then the reading time. Then we are going to send all these particular stuff to our compare stuff. So that's the basic idea about it. So let me save it, and now let's run it and see here. So if I go back to my compare, that's restarted perfectly. So this is the compare summary tab, which is something very simple. So this is a test where the test is going to be, and then this is going to be our different tabs. So these different tabs are just simple materialized formats of creating a tab. It's quite easy to do. So if I go back to my index here, compare summary file, to create a tab is very simple with materialize. So it's going to be like this. We have our section here, then we have individual rows, right? You're going to create a single row, then individual tabs as URL, then tab 1, tab 2, tab 3, and tab 4. And I'm going to link it to it, right? That's the basic idea about it. So link tab 2, then link tab 3, then link tab 4. So that's the basic idea about creating these particular tabs. Okay. So let's paste in some tests and see whether it's going to work. I'm just going to copy another test from where we have been working with. So let's use this particular test, and let's come back to our here and then try it and see whether it's going to work. Perfect. So it has been able to work in a very nice format for us. So this is a test, and then these are the individual ones. So we have SpaCy, we have Gensim, we have NLTK, we have Sumy, right? And even it seems that they're almost the same thing, right? They're almost the same, but there are some small slight changes. Gensim give us a one-liner, and Sumy give us some other interesting stuff. So these are some of the basic stuff you can do with this particular tutorial. So in a nutshell, the basic idea is that you're just going to create individual functions, right? We're going to create individual functions for summarizers. So we have SpaCy Summarizer, we have NLTK Summarizer, we have Gensim Summarizer, and then we're going to pass in whatever text we are receiving from our form around these particular summarizers. That's the basic idea about it. So we have the one for Sumy here, and we created a function for the Sumy, in which we're going to pass in our text, created another function for our reading time, created another function to get our URL, then we created individual routes, one for receiving the form and then processing it by passing around them our particular functions, right? Text summarizer, reading time, and then the same thing for our URL. So we're able to get the URL, then we pass in the get text from URL, and then we are we stored everything inside the raw text and then apply the same procedure as above. The same thing for the summarizers, compare summarizers. We are comparing different summarizers. This summarizer from SpaCy, Summarize from Gensim, NLTK Summarizer from NLTK, and then Sumy from Sumy. That is the basic idea about it. So thank you for watching this tutorial. Hope you have learned something. Please, in case you want the code will be below, so you can check it. You can check the link below. You also check the links below for more interesting stuff. And please don't forget to subscribe and share. Thank you. I know it was in a rush and plenty of code, but I hope you have been able to understand the back end about it. So the front end is just normal materialize.css. That is why I did not spend more time on it. So the most important thing was the back end. So thank you and stay blessed.